This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a Wrestling Observer review of the weekly news I find interesting in it. And I'll cut to the chase in this one. I also listened to the Wrestling Observer radio today that Dave Meltzer did. He doesn't understand why people don't care anymore about the Vince McMahon case as far as mainstream news reporting on it. I'll be honest, I don't care about it. Janelle Grants can hire a publicist and put out statements all the time. At some point, until the trial happens, we don't want to hear about this week after week, year after year, month after month. Saturday night main event did not do a great rating, only about a 0.43, considering they put pay-per-view related effort into the promotion, effort into the promotion. Meltzer was stunned that it got a lower rating than SmackDown gets, and lower than SmackDown was getting on Fox as well, considering NBC is arguably the number one network. Well, you put Kevin Owens in the main event, and you're not going to get very good ratings. Also, the show was predictable. All the matches were very predictable. And at some point, yes, it is fake, but you still want to wonder a little bit if it's predictable or not. Like, you want to wonder who's going to win. And the biggest attractions to the show were they were going to bring back the Winged Eagle belt, which they did. And Jesse Ventura's return, but Jesse didn't move numbers. A lot of people have lost respect for him when he endorsed Kamala Harris after saying he would never endorse anybody from the two-party system. And he's just been out of it for so long. And apparently during the commentating, he was calling Kevin Owens Kevin Owen. He was making stuff up like Owens and Roman Reigns had a bloody feud, which they never had any type of bloody feud. And like, what's the draw other than just hearing his voice again? Because one of the points is that they brought up is they didn't even use all the top stars for this. They didn't use Logan Paul, CM Punk, The Rock, or Roman Reigns. So it wasn't the top talent at all. And that just goes to show you that people are getting sick of Cody to not be able to pull a rating that's impressive on the number one network, NBC. They're talking about doing more pay-per-views outside of the U.S. because they can get more money for them. They can charge more, and these countries that never get pay-per-views will pay money to have them brought in. Apparently, Mexico is one of these being discussed. Yeah, Bash, apparently the Democrats probably paid him a lot, and apparently WWE also paid him a lot to come back. Because he kept saying his son negotiated the deal for him to appear on, I think, 4 events next year and the one this year. He was saying that the deal was important to him for the future of his grandchildren. I don't know how much they paid for him, but it didn't seem like. I mean, to bring him back, to say that he came back after all that, I guess it's worth something. But I watched an appearance he had on the actual NFL Network, an interview before this, and it didn't have very good numbers. Like, it did less numbers than a lot of the videos I've been posting on this channel lately. So it made me wonder, like, is he actually going to pull a rating? Because that was before the actual show. Apparently, Hulk Hogan appeared on the UFC show from Tampa the same night that actually outdrew Saturday night's main event from a crowd standpoint, and had a very good rating despite being later on at night. So it was interesting that they didn't want to use Hogan, even though he's under contract with them on Saturday night's main event, because he was so synonymous with the show as well. But for whatever reason, they chose not to. Apparently, Penta is going to debut in WWE very soon. They're already promoting him on Raw. We keep hearing about how hot they are, but they're house show tour. By the way, there's no events until December 26th. Their house show tour doesn't exactly have blow-away ticket numbers. Not bad, but for instance, Jacksonville has just over 4,000 pre-sold. Madison Square Garden, that CM Punk is going to be on this show, only has 9,000 in MSG, which historically their biggest house show of the year. It's the Christmas house show at MSG. Pittsburgh, just over 5,000. Tampa, 9,000. Baltimore, 5,000 pre-sold. Pittsburgh, the same. Miami, 3,000. Chicago, 7,000. Detroit, 6,000. Then this is interesting. They have a SmackDown in Phoenix coming up that has just over 6,000 tickets pre-sold. And Phoenix had been packing the arena. I mean, one of the last SmackDowns I remember there was when they used The Rock, and they actually didn't even use the Titantron because they wanted to cram as many people in there as possible. But they only at this point have about 6,000 pre-sold for the SmackDown arena. In AEW news, Meltzer says they should be rebuilding their product right now since they have a 3-year cushion of that TV deal money coming in. Supposedly they're on their way, according to other reports I've read, of losing over $40 million this year, which they have lost money every year. But for the next 3 years, they should be able to turn a profit because TV networks are desperate for programming, and WBD made them a deal that's a great deal for AEW, considering what NXT is getting from the CW, far less. For very similar ratings and often beating AEW. AEW got an amazing deal from Warner Brothers Discovery. But Meltzer says, like, with the declining product, I mean, they're still going in the same direction. They're not really doing a complete overhaul on their product. And he says, with the cushion that they have now, they're dropping the ball going down the same hole. And there's no guarantee that they will be renewed for a 4th year at the same price, but they have until late 2026 to change things up. They might very well be in denial. They've been sending wrestlers to indie shows lately, which just boggles my mind because they don't use the top stars on all of their shows. I mean, MJF's made indie appearances. Their Costco guy, AJ, that they love, they've sent him to an indie show. Chris Jericho appeared in an indie show recently. Mercedes Moné, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry appeared at a New Japan event in the California area. And Mercedes actually wrestled on it and only had about 2,000-ish fans. It's strange that they prioritize other companies over their own. It boggles my mind. Hammerstein Ballroom, it holds about 2,500 for their tapings there that began last night. It's only going to be set up for about 1,400. I watched some clips from the Ring of Honor pay-per-view last night. It did not look packed. Let me say that. Compared to like the ECW One Night Stand where the crowd was hot and looked really packed, it did not look like that at all. For at least the Ring of Honor last night, they're doing actual AEW tapings the next couple of nights, so maybe it'll be better for the actual AEW tapings. This is the New York market, so is that not the biggest market in the U.S.? It surprises me that they can't. None of the shows are sold out. They can't even sell out 1,400 fans, which isn't even the real sellout. It can actually hold 2,500, but they can't even get 1,400 to fill up this place. They're mentioning that some people are reporting up to 70% of AEW crowds. Oh, by the way, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view was over 5 hours, which is nuts how long they go on. First of all, it's a waste of money to fly so many people in just to make the shows so long that a normal person who only has the attention span for like a 2.5, 3 hour show has to sit there for hours and hours and hours. Like, I understand that there are super fans out there that have no problem watching 5 hours of programming. Most people don't. But yeah, a lot of people are apparently leaving for the Ring of Honor tapings that they keep doing after AEW shows. And it could be one of the things very well hurting their attendance, as well as the constant false advertising they do, putting people on posters and billboards for their shows that don't actually appear on the shows. That will leave a bad taste in people's mouth. But when Dave Meltzer and his co-host on this radio show today were bringing up that Tony Khan will come out after the Dynamite or Collision tapings and saying, please stay and watch the Ring of Honor tapings. You're going to see world class matches and wrestlers. Then it's like Ring of Honor wrestlers nobody's ever heard of, and sometimes even locals that aren't even signed. So it's like he's losing credibility with the fans when he's coming out and say, please stay to watch these world class matches. And it's jobbers nobody's ever heard of. And all it does, but Meltzer is saying, like, he's even saying, is Ring of Honor even worth it? Because it does extend the tapings longer, which just makes the fans bored overall. And a lot of the fans leave. And at the same time, it doesn't have a television show. And it's not over. You couldn't possibly say it's over. I mean, Harry Smith, who I interviewed the other day, didn't even know that Thomas Billington, the Dynamite Kid's nephew or something, is signed to Ring of Honor, which I guess he's signed to AEW, but he wrestles for Ring of Honor. It's like the company has absolutely no buzz. So why even bother? Like, it doesn't even make sense other than just being a absolute massive Ring of Honor mark. But despite all the funding behind it, Ring of Honor is far from one of its popularity highs, and it's mixed with AEW too much. It's not like it's its own brand. The companies mix way too much. The official, I guess sorry, I didn't write down the official number for the New Japan show in Long Beach, where all these AEW wrestlers appeared, but it was around 2,000-ish. Am I alive? Yes, I'm. First of all, I don't make fun of handicapped people, but yes, that's why I have over 400,000 subscribers, and you're watching me. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Saturday night main event was a disappointment. The thing about Jesse is they can't put him on too long, Alan, because he doesn't actually watch the show or know anything about the angle. So that's why they only put him on one match where he couldn't even remember Kevin Owens' name. So it looks bad to put a guy on that doesn't know everything. And he also, if you've seen any of his recent interviews, he rambles on a lot. So you got to have him as controlled as possible. Yeah, Matt, 5 hours is way too long. It would make sense to send their lower card guys to indie shows. The thing is, they're sending their higher card guys to indie shows. And then when you go to the AEW shows and there's people like Jericho on the poster, like there was at the one in Ottawa, Jericho's not even on the show. Or John Moxley is on the poster, but he's wrestling on an indie show or he's wrestling in Japan. So it's like, yeah, it would make sense to send their lower card guys to indie shows or just have less people under contract and use them when they're ready, because a lot of their lower card guys don't deserve these large contracts. For All Japan, it's kind of difficult to watch. I guess there's clips on YouTube and stuff, but I tried to look on the website and it's all in Japanese. So there's not really an easy way to follow it. I would suggest following Harry on social media. AEW is going to smaller venues, yes, because they keep having like 2,000 people or less a lot of times in these massive arenas, which only adds to showing that your guys aren't stars when you're going into these huge arenas and then the fans show up and it's like, how are we supposed to think these guys are stars when practically the entire arena is blocked off. I don't know. Dynamite Kids. Well, yeah, I don't know much about him other than he looks like Dynamite Kid, and that's probably why he was signed. I would have rather that they signed Harry, to be honest with you. But again, I don't worry about it. That's why I haven't been doing as many wrestling updates lately because it just doesn't interest me. But I know you guys love talking about it. And in about 10 minutes, I will be back on here with Jack Kilby talking about classic wrestling themes. And we will be taking your opinions on them. So at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, we're going to do that. And oh, yeah, someone mentioned my ECW arena appearance coming up in Philadelphia. Tessa Blanchard is also going to be on that event, by the way, who she returned to TNA this week. There it is. I'll be wrestling Super Crazy in Philadelphia. Tickets are on sale for that event now at the 2300 Arena website. Check it out.